All right, hello people, it's T-Man and I'm back with another video, a new video, but another video, a new one by JasonBlaha himself, the fitness lifting gym slave, the fitness influencer. Yes, I don't know what he's influencing, but he's doing some influencing, something there, whatever. Anyways, I'm gonna review this video, man. Jason says, if we are gaining muscle, will we see a strength increase if we're gaining muscle? That's interesting. What do you mean by strength increase? Physical strength or a force production? Again, these are different adaptations. I guess people really just don't understand what an adaptation is out there. Like this coach, Blaha. He's supposed to be a coach. He doesn't understand the adaptation process. How could you be a coach if you don't understand the adaptation process? So how are you supposed to get the people that you're training an adaptation? Get it? How are you supposed to get them something if you don't understand how it works? All right, let's review this.
If you are gaining muscle from your training, you will see a general increase in your workloads. Hey everybody, it's JasonBlaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about this.
I mean, every time I look at him, you could compare my body. I filmed myself. You could take my videos, my film, me posing, and you can compare me up against JasonBlaha. I am 10 years older than JasonBlaha. Look at my body and look at his. Look at the way I look and look at him. Bro, this is something. And I don't even look my age when I walk around. Most people in the gym, they don't believe my age. They're like, nah, come on, bro. They're like, you must be in your 30s or something, right? And I'm like, no, man. I'm practically pushing 60. And they're like, what? Pushing 60, bro. So this guy, he actually looks 80. He's 47, but looks 80. Jesus, this is crazy. He looks like an 80-year-old lifting weights. That's about it. That's what he really looks like, an 80-year-old who does a little bit of lifting that is complete, but is completely late at the scene lifting weights. He's really late at it.
You know, when it comes down to progressive overload, and again, I'm not talking about novice lifters because
Ask your Blaha here, your coach Blaha. Ask him to do some bodybuilding poses, at least the double biceps, like where he's standing there beside the garbage can or whatever the fuck he's there. Tell him to do a double biceps and turn around and show his back. He doesn't have to do a whole lot, just at least those two. Just two things: the back area, double bi from the front, double bi from the back. That's it. Not a big deal. Let's see what he looks like.
obviously we do a lot of just linear progression for people in their first few months in the gym. All the best programs do that, and
none of this. What is any of this going to do if you're adapted? What's he talking about?
you know, it becomes a bit of blurred lines there. But once you're through kind of that little bit of noob gain phase, you do that honeymoon period. As a general,
Again, what is the noob gain phase? I'll tell you what the noob gain phase is. It's an adaptation. It's a process where the body rapidly adapts and something called the RBE kicks in to protect muscle from getting damaged. And if it's protected from damage, it cannot build anymore. You can't build any more muscle through a repair and a remodeling and getting these nuclei donated by the satellite cell. They only donate their nuclei to damaged muscle fibers. But if they're not damaging and they're adapted, then there's no more growth. It's called zero growth. It's beyond where the progenitor during hypertrophic process can donate any extra nuclei to that domain to support further muscle growth. So how do you support it? By getting more adaptations. And one way of doing that is to get good at lifting different lifts, at doing different lifts and getting good at them. And then what happens is you may get one or two more adaptations out of that one lift, and then it'll cancel out. And then it's time to do another lift. And a lot of people, they mix up stuff, which is not good, then you fuck it up. Or the best is to just stay at one thing. First, start with cables, get adapted to the cables. There's no more adaptations. Move on to free weights. That's it. And I would do one in the beginning. I usually would have done one exercise for each muscle group. I would have maxed it out completely. One exercise, one group, overworking it, and then I'm done. And then I'd move on to other exercises so I can get new adaptations through those exercises. For example, if you're just doing dumbbell flies, then do dumbbell flies. That's it. Do them as much as you can until you've run out of adaptations there. Then, when it's done, you can switch over. You could do whatever, I don't know, military presses or OHP or whatever. So you got to max out these adaptations. But if you mix them up, then you lose the adaptation to that exercise. That's the problem. A lot of people don't really understand this process of adaptation. It adapts. Your muscle fibers have many different groups of muscle fibers. They adapt to each exercise, how they adapt to it through a repair and a remodeling. And then it doesn't do it anymore. So you need to get as many adaptations as you can. For example, a bench press is not a how should I put it? Is not I don't know, but look, fucking presses on the floor, okay? If you're doing fucking presses on the floor, it's not the same as doing a bench press, okay? It's a different adaptation. Pressing your chest on the floor and doing a fucking bench press, those are totally different adaptations. But I wouldn't mix the two because you may miss out. See what I mean?
If you are not seeing a improvement in performance on your exercises, you're probably not gaining muscle.
If you're not gaining performance, then you're not gaining muscle. It has nothing to do with performance. Performance has to do with everything what you're doing and whatever it is you're doing. You're performing. I get it. You're performing. You're adapted. You are now adapted, and you're getting new adaptations. But it isn't in muscle growth. It isn't in an adaptation process, in a repair and a remodeling, getting bigger and stronger, physically bigger and stronger. You're getting a forced production. Your body cancels out, it stops at some point, then you gain phase because you guys don't know how to get out of it. And then you just keep lifting the same weights repetitively. And then you go, okay, I'll progressively overload. So you start progressively overloading. But you're not getting any more damage because of the repeated bout effect phenomenon. It's protecting muscle. It's an adaptation, protecting muscle from what? From a repeated bout of muscle damage. So even if you are going up, it's very specific to get that damage. You have to do something that is very, I don't know, unfamiliar to the muscle, like an overworking. It's usually an overworking of that muscle will bring that damage back. If you are progressively overloading and it's an overworking of that muscle, you could get it in an adapted state. You can get a new adaptation, but it's got to be overworked. If it's not overworked, it's not going to damage. It's really simple, bro. But guess what happens? Nobody does that. And so what do? I got a stronger, but I didn't get a bigger. No, you got a stronger lift. You got a better at lifting something, but you didn't get bigger and stronger. Physically, you didn't get bigger and stronger. That's why a lot of these lifters, they don't do good in arm wrestling because it's based on adaptations. In arm wrestling, they do different movements and exercises for that forearm and arm to get different adaptations so it can get super strong so they can fucking destroy people. That's the whole point. Just look at arm wrestling training. It's not, I'm just going to do forearms. It's going to be from the front and from the back, and then I leave the gym. Man, they're doing a whole bunch of stuff. You understand me? Wrist, this, that, whatever. They're doing different exercises. Fuck it. They don't do the same shit because they're looking for different adaptations, physical adaptations, to be stronger than you. A weakling who could deadlift, fucking whatever, 800 pounds off the floor. You're a weakling physically, but you have a forced production. It's real. I don't know how to explain this. It's complicated.
And I would almost suggest to you that there's a direct one-to-one comparison there. In other words, once you kind of have the novelty of an exercise, right, worn off, if you see an increase in performance, you're probably going to see a proportionate amount of muscle growth in the primary movers involved.
No, you're not. You're not going to see any of that. Look, I can prove this to you in this video. So, hold on a second. So here's what happens. So you come into the gym, right? You lift weights, right? You lift weights. This is M&D size limit. This is muscle. M&D size reaches the ceiling limits beyond where it can donate any extra nuclei to support further muscle growth. It's done. That's called the newbie gain phase, okay? You can still get that muscle growth, but only in an adaptation. So what does it look like? It looks like this. It looks like this. So you go to nuclei acquired by overload, scroll down to the bottom. There's a map here, the famous map, okay? There you are. So untrained, first training, satellite cell fusion, hypertrophy. There you go. What do they mean by that when they're showing you this map? What is that? What is the satellite cell doing? What's it donating there exactly? See what I mean? What is happening here? If you're untrained, don't you notice you're very sore? If you're untrained, if you're doing something and you were untrained doing it, you've never done it before, how do you feel the next couple days? You feel pretty sore, right? You feel like low force capacity, range of motion, you feel pain, soreness, a whole bunch of stuff, right? But then it goes away and it never comes back again. You just keep lifting in the gym. And then you never get this hypertrophy anymore. And then you complain, you say newbie gains, and you give it all these fucking stupid words and shit and all that. Hard gainer, newbie gains, genetic limit, whatever. It's because it's the protective effect. It's protected. Okay, so then what happens once it's protected? What's the next phase? Well, this is the phase with you guys. This is what happens. So you're not getting physically bigger and stronger. You're getting physically better at lifting something heavy. So it takes off. There's an adaptation process. It takes off. See? This is what happens is it has another adaptation, but that adaptation has nothing to do with muscle. That's why they tell you here in NCBI, they say myocytic androgen receptor controls the strength, but not the mass of the limb muscles. See that? Not the mass of the limb muscles. So when you say that you're going to get a stronger is going to make you bigger, a stronger is not going to make you bigger. A stronger is not going to get you muscle fibers or mass on the myofibrillar, like it says here. It does not control the mass of the limb muscles. What controls the mass of the limb muscles? See that? The progenitor does. The progenitor controls that mass of the limb muscles. Now, myocytic androgen receptor controls the strength. So if you could read this, I don't know. I'm not going to go through all this, okay? So when they take away the AR, there's a reduction in force production. This maximizes force production. I'm not talking about motor units. Definitely motor units play a role. The nervous system plays a role. If you were to sever a nerve, you would get weak. You'd never be able to lift anything. Me, myself, I suffer from some spinal stenosis and nerve damage. So it's really, really hard. I have to force myself to lift heavier. I have to push it, but the nerve damage prevents me a lot of the times from doing specific things. But it's not something you're going to complain about in life. I'm still trying to figure out how to cure it, or maybe it'll go away. I really don't even know. Maybe there's a new science on it. I don't know. It's really difficult to cure spinal stenosis once you get it. It's a narrowing of the spine. And no, I'm not going to go for surgery or anything. That's just ridiculous. I've had a doctor tell me to go for surgery. You'll end up crippled the rest of your life if you go for spinal stenosis surgery. You'll be messed up. But at least I'm not like most people with spinal cord stenosis. They walk with canes, they got walkers, they're in a wheelchair. I'm still walking, I can even run, I can do a lot of stuff, but it's painful. Sometimes I could barely bend in the morning when I wake up, get out of bed. It's extreme pain sometimes. It is almost incredible. I can't even brush my teeth. It's hard to shave. I can't bend my back until it finally loosens up a bit. So yeah, anyways, that's what controls the strength, and that's the adaptation process now that you're going to get, and it's not going to be based on physical matter strength anymore. It's going to be a proliferation of the motor units, and you're going to get more of these androgen receptors, which control that strength for maximum force production. So yeah, man, let's go back to Jason Blaha here. Bluha.
Want a gambling experience?
Going to see a proportionate amount of muscle growth in the primary movers involved. Now, that doesn't mean progressive overload through any means necessary. Okay, and that's where the confusion is created, because every time the topic of progressive overload comes up, people will say, "So you're saying people should just throw heavy weight around?" No one is saying that.
No, man. It's either you resensitize to the exercise. You're now desensitized because your body has adapted to it rapidly. So there's no more muscle damage. So what do? You go away from it for a while and then you come back and you hit it again. But a lot of people are impatient. They think that gyms build muscles. They will build you muscles. Guess what they'll build you? Sarcoplasmic if you eat a lot of carbohydrates. They'll build you phony muscles, though, a lot of it. I remember watching some video online a while back, some crazy person talking about carb cycling. That's how I built my muscles. I carb cycled. 1 week I would carb cycle. The next week I would do just protein and lift weights. And then the next week I would carb cycle. And that's how I built my muscle. Oh, so you loaded carbohydrates in your muscles and that's how you built them. You built carbohydrate muscles. Oh, cool. Okay. People are really insane out there.
Like, no sane person is saying that. And my response to that is a border.
Everybody thinks that they have the magic secret. And I'm probably the only person on the internet, the only channel that actually explained it to you in proper terms, that it's based on an adaptation process. The more adaptations you could get, the better you get at those lifts. The more adaptations you get, the bigger and stronger you shall become. I think people don't understand what big and strong means. They're going to say, well, you're doing a lot of accessory work, but you're not doing it, but I am, and I'm doing the OHP deadlift and the bench press. So guess what? And the squat. So guess what? I'm going to be stronger than you physically. Why is that? Because you've never done them before. And if I done them, I got an adaptation through what? Through a repair and a remodeling. That's why I look as big and strong as I am, because I'm getting different adaptations. Therefore, I must be stronger than you doing those particular lifts. You understand me? If you've never done them, look, if you keep sticking to the same lifts over and over again, you may be good at those lifts. You got an adaptation, but you didn't do any other ones. And that's the reason why your muscles are small, because it's based on an adaptation process. Get it, man? That's what makes muscles bigger and stronger, through adaptations. They don't get bigger, they don't get damaged and bigger and stronger doing the exact same weight over and over again. That's why the repeated bout effect protects muscle from a repeated bout from getting what? Damaged. So what do you need to do? You need to do stuff that is not the same with a repeated bout. Get it? Do other bouts. And then you'll get this fucking shit. Get it, bro?
Idiotic and moronic response. Okay, I want to be clear there. That if you think that's what we mean by progressive overload, you probably don't know anything about training. And I don't care how many years you've been doing it. Because what we're talking about...
Yeah, I don't care how many years your coach or Blaha has been doing it. It's obvious it's failure looking at his body. Body does the talking. Bro, I'm going to tell you how that works in this world. Body, look, I'm not an influencer. I'm nobody. I don't even care about bodybuilding anymore. I stopped bodybuilding 20-something years ago, 25 years ago, okay? I don't bodybuild, but I have a bodybuilder's build, my body. So body does the talking, bro. If I had continued lifting for all those years, probably I would look way better, be way stronger, be a bunch of everything. But I don't care. You understand me? I'm a busy person. I have a life. I got other things to do. I'm not a gym slave or a lifting slave. Get it, man? But yeah, right now, what am I doing? I'm conditioning myself. But as I'm conditioning myself, I did things that I was unfamiliar with, and so I was able to eke out a few adaptations, but I noticed it rapidly adapted because I don't feel any more kind of soreness or anything there. It's blunted effect now. It's blunted. And so I lift, there's nothing going on. So what should I do? Well, maybe I'll switch up. because that too is the process for getting an adaptation and being conditioned as well. They all go together. It's, man, I think people just, they don't get it. They'll just stay there forever trying to eke out a new adaptation out of something that you're adapted to is impossible.
An increase in mechanical tension, okay? Because that is what we're looking at, is the tension that we are placing on the muscle.
Mechanical tension means you're using pulley machines. Cable machines are mechanical tension, okay? The more of you do of them, the more damage you could get. But again, it'll adapt too.
Muscles increasing, right? Are they able to produce more force over time? Well, that means
no, they produce more force over time. Oh man, because it's an adaptation process. You're getting more androgen receptors. That's why people go away from the gym and then they go, hey, my force production went down. I can't lift as heavy as I did. I went on vacation for 2 weeks or a month. I came back and I can't lift the same heavy weight because it's based on an adaptation process, the myocytic androgen receptor. Yes, but a repair and a remodeling, muscle that repairs and remodels, that's permanent. I'm not talking about mass on the myofibular or sarcoplasmic mass, okay? Phony mass.
That you need some sort of consistent metric for knowing if that's occurring. Meaning, if you are slinging around weight and cheating, well, then the amount of cheating you're doing has to be consistent. You can't cheat more or cheat less and still know that you're progressing. You have to cheat the exact same amount. So that's what we're talking about. The same thing with range of motion. So let's say that you were doing stuff really, really strict.
What's he talking about cheating? Man, I don't know. I don't know why people call that cheating if you're doing partial reps for the eccentric movement. You're trying to rep out heavier weight. That's the whole purpose. You're trying to get a new adaptations. But if you're not, then what are you lifting for?
Right. But on your bench pressing, for example, you use a bigger or a smaller arch. Well, you've now changed the mechanical tension on the muscle. Therefore, that's no longer really a valid comparison. Okay? Because where's most of the tension placed on the pectorals on the bench? At the very bottom. So if the range of motion changes at the bottom, those deeper joint angles, obviously mechanical tension on the pectorals is reduced. So we are no longer able to accurately assess.
Yeah, if you're on a flat bench press, I would say that's mechanical tension because the weight is going up and down. Now, if you're the reverse and you're doing a one-arm dumbbell pull, yeah, I don't know, mechanical tension. Yeah, you're still holding on to the weight, so mechanical tension, okay. It's just a different type of mechanical tension. There's more mechanical tension when it comes to cable machines than free weights, providing you don't drop the weight on the floor. You're holding the weight in that movement going up and down, whatever the hell you're doing there.
Changes in performance compared to the new range of motion. You can only compare what's been done through that range of motion, right? Because again, if we cut an inch out of the bottom of the bench press, we have substantially, potentially reduced mechanical tension on that muscle with any given.
Absolutely not. Even if you went, like he just said, even if you cut an inch or something on that movement, you haven't. It's mechanical tension, providing you haven't dropped the weight. It's moving in real time, and there's more, the eccentric exercise, there's more stretch on the eccentric. That's the whole purpose of it. The concentric is not necessary so much. It's good for show, but the physical strength you're going to get, natural physical strength, will be on the eccentric movement.
Weight. And we don't know exactly what percentage. We have no way to calculate that. So then you have to get a new metric with the new range of motion. But keep in mind, mechanical tension on the muscle is not the same as mechanical tension on the individual muscle fiber. So muscle is not the same as mechanical tension on the individual muscle fiber. So let's discuss that. Fatigue creates that tension. So in other words, the muscle fibers that we are concerned with are usually the faster twitch fibers because they have the most growth potential.
Wow, this guy absolutely knows dick about anything about bodybuilding. fast twitch muscle fibers. We're concerned about growth and all that. Let me tell you something about those so-called fast twitch muscle fibers. They call them hybrid fibers for a reason. Want to know why they're hybrid? Because they adapt to different movements. You understand me? If you rock climb, that's a different adaptation. You understand? If you swim, that's a different adaptation. Yeah. If you run, that's a different adaptation. If you lift weights in a gym, that's a different adaptation. So each of these fibers, they have to adapt in their own way to that movement. And how do they do it? How do they do it? Through a damage repair and a remodeling. And then it never does it again. Unless you do a different exercise or a different movement that you're unfamiliar with. Something you're doing that you're unfamiliar with. Will that ever come back again? Will it ever come back again? Ever? In a different hybrid fiber of type 2. Okay, man? So that's how it controls itself. It makes you better at doing that movement once, and then it doesn't need to do that anymore. And then it takes off. Another adaptation takes off to myocytic androgen receptor for that force production. If you're trying to get a force production in the gym, but not in sports. Oh, somewhat too in sports, you could say maybe. If you start getting better and if you keep doing it more and more and more, it'll give you an androgen receptor strength. It won't give you more muscle fiber strength because it's a protective effect. It doesn't want to build muscles. Me, I've eked out many adaptations. That's why as a natural person, you'll be like, how the fuck could this guy be 250 or 285? How could he be so massive and big? Because I eked out numerous amounts of adaptations, but I fooled the body. I got it to resensitize, and I kept doing the same exercises. I fooled it. The only difference was I kept moving higher in weight. I would do the same exercises, move higher in weight, and I would eat a lot of food as well because your food adapts too as well. Your meals adapt. They stop working as well. Yeah. So if you understand this adaptation process, your meals stop working, your exercises stop working, everything stops working. Why? Because it's adapted. It's adapted to it. So what do you need to do? Get new adaptations. Yeah.
Well, those muscle fibers don't get any mechanical tension until fatigue is sufficient or weight is heavy enough. Okay, what do we mean there? If you're doing an 8-rep set, a 10-rep set, whatever it happens to be, your nervous system will not.
Look, even you getting adapted by getting these androgen receptors, they too require a rest period so that they could develop. They can't develop if you keep lifting too often. They develop better when you rest. When you rest quite a while and come back, you'll notice you'll be stronger in your force production because your body will adapt by giving you more of these androgen receptors for that force production, somewhere for the androgens to bind to give you more force production. Yeah.
Recruit fast twitch fibers until it has to. It will not recruit them until it has to. It will go up the chain and use the weakest.
Now, as a natural person, I can't tell you if they're permanent or not. They kind of go away when you go away. Not all of it's going to go away, of course not. But unlike a steroid person, they've never really developed it naturally. They haven't done all these adaptations. They haven't done a lot of stuff. And so they go after steroids and it all goes away because they were lifting on cosmetics. They weren't doing anything natural.
Most endurance-oriented fibers first, and those, when they start being unable to lift that weight anymore because they start to get a little tired after the first couple reps, your body will systematically go up the road towards the faster twitch fibers as it goes. Okay?
Yeah, here's the thing. You need to know your body type. Again, if you're an ectomorph, you mostly have type 1 muscle fibers. That's what you're carrying as an ectomorph. So, yeah, you want these type 2 fast twitch muscle fibers. So you want to move rapidly through your exercises. That's the whole point, to activate the type 2. But here's the problem. When you're adapted, it sits in type 1 and you're filled with type 1. And so it sits in there. It just sits in there. It does nothing. It protects itself. It's a really complicated, maybe complicated process for people to understand that. You get weakened in the exercise if you're getting an adaptation in muscle damage. You get very weakened. But you just get fatigued if you're adapted now. That's totally different. Fatigue and damage are two different things.
As fatigue is generated through multiple repetitions, the mechanical tension placed upon individual muscle fibers starts to go up.
No. What starts to go up is the myocytic androgen receptor. It controls the strength, but not the mass of the limb muscles. That's what starts going up. It's an adaptation process. Progressive through progressive overloading. You're adapted. There's no muscle growth there.
Because they're taking more of the workload, right? So this is why when we talk about mechanical tension, hitting a 1 rep max will not always maximize mechanical tension on every muscle fiber. Okay? Their contribution might all be high, like every muscle fiber may be involved to some extent. Right? But we need multiple repetitions to maximize that tension on an individual muscle fiber. So that's what we're looking for. So we're looking at, is that fiber being worked in that range of motion, right? Do we have the joint angles in a position to work that fiber, to put the most tension on it, and is enough fatigue being created? This is why we're looking at a trend in performance and progressive overload, okay? So is your 10 rep max going up? Is your 6 rep max going up? Are you able to complete more successful, proper repetitions with the same weight? Now that's also progressive overload, okay? That's a perfect example. Let's say the most you've ever been able to bench press is 5 reps with 225. And over.
Think about it. I've seen people bench press 400, but they don't have the most impressive chest. Why not? Because it's not based on 1 rep maxes or doing 5 reps or 1 rep or 3 reps. It's based on an adaptation process. And how does it adapt? Well, it's usually doing higher repetitions is what causes a muscle to damage. And then you get an adaptation. And it does make you stronger, and it'll make you better. That's why some people practice at the bench press. They'll do 2 plates, and they'll do like two on each side, and then they'll try to go high repetition. The older bodybuilders will tell you, if you could rep out 20 reps with 2 plates on each side, if you can rep them out 20 or even 30 or whatever, you should be able to do 405. And then they will do multiples and multiples of that. So that's an overworking of a muscle. You're overworking it. You should get some damage, some repair and remodeling, more adaptations there. In that process, you should get more adaptations in a higher repetition range, making you physically stronger now too. But you'll also get these androgen receptors, They'll come along with it, giving you more force production. So yeah, you get 2 in 1 there. It's complicated.
Time you're able to build up to do 3 sets of 8 repetitions with 225. Well,
he does the exact same rep scheme and exact same reps and sets. There's nothing here. He's adapted. Again, it's based on an adaptation principle system. He's adapted. That's why he's not getting any adaptations. The only thing he's trying to do is get low body fat. That's about it. That's all he's getting. What is that? Nothing. You get low body fat. Okay.
That's a substantial increase in workload. That's a substantial increase in progressive overload.
See, he thinks that he'll look better if he gets low body fat. See, if I just keep lifting the same scheme and I get, I'm going to get a thermogenic effect, and I'm going to eat my tofu and my shitty, crappy, man-made food, and then I'm going to lower my body fat, that's going to make me look beautiful. That's going to make me look better. No, that's not what makes your body, your muscles develop and look better. It's the adaptation process that make them look better. But he's adapted, and so he's not looking better. Get it? He's just looking worse and worse. He's accelerated aging in an adapted state, regardless whether he got an adaptation in lifting heavier through these androgen receptors. But then again, he's taking steroids to lift a heavy weight. So I don't even know. He's just a crooked coach, okay?
Substantial. You're going to have gained a significant amount of muscle from that. Plus, the overall fatigue.
No, you're not going to gain a substantial amount of muscle. That's why you're not gaining any. See, when you're doing that, that's the reason he's not gaining any, and none of you are. None of you are gaining any muscle, and neither is he.
Generated on your pectorals, front delts, lateral head of the tricep, all that stuff is going to go up. right? And you're going to see more tension
No, it's not, because if it was going up, he'd be able to produce it. Body does the talking. His body says nothing. It just says nothing.
on those individual muscle fibers. And it's also a sign that
It says he takes steroids, which he's just fucking bloated with like carbohydrates. I could tell he's got a puffy look of carbohydrate. That's about it, because he's taking steroids and he eats carbohydrates all day. He eats carbohydrates. You could tell what people are eating in their meals. Look at their videos, what he eats in his basket. Look at what I eat and look at what he eats. I eat meat. That's all I've been eating the past year. Meat, fish. But seafood and meat. What's he eating? Pasta, tofu. He eats weird shit, carbohydrates. He's on a sugar cellulose fucking diet. Cellulose fucking sugar, whatever, and toxic anti-nutrient diet. Okay? So what does he expect how his body is going to change? What did you expect? This body, how is it going to change on that? It's impossible.
we've all gotten bigger, okay? Because the workload itself is what stimulates hypertrophy, right?
Yeah, they all got bigger. No, nobody got bigger. Stimulates hypertrophy? That's not what stimulates hypertrophy. It's the damaging process because it reaches an MND size limit. Get it? The progenitor is not going to donate any more of its nuclei to that domain to support further muscle growth. So what do you need to do? Get another adaptation. So then it can support further muscle growth. Shit.
Creating that fatigue and that mechanical tension on each individual muscle fiber is what stimulates it to grow. Once that muscle fiber has grown, you should see a corresponding increase in performance. Right?
Once it's grown, see increase in performance. Yeah, you perform now better. You're not so shaky after you get a repair and a remodeling. But then it stops. And now you're going to get an adaptation in this fucking chemical strength shit.
Now keep in mind that performance increase will be slow the longer you've been training. It will be slower because once neural drive and stuff is done and technique and everything is learned,
that's what takes off. Then there's no more muscle growth. It's adapted.
Much your performance increases, whether it's weight on the bar, the number of reps you can do, assuming form and range of motion are consistent, will be a product of how much the muscle fibers have grown. Okay, that will then.
And how do they grow? The muscle fibers grow. Well, protein synthesis needs to exceed that breakdown. Are you exceeding that breakdown to see those muscle fibers grow? And here's another thing. If they're adapted, then they're all tapped out. They're not really growing anymore. So what's making them grow? Well, if you're eating carbohydrates, they'll grow, but it won't be contractile proteins. That's the problem with all you people eating an unnatural diet. You all think that carbohydrate bloat is muscle growth, when in fact it's not. Go and eat a protein diet and you'll find out for yourself what you're carrying there.
Become the primary mechanism by which we see the performance increase. Once the technique and neural drive and motor unit learning is there for that movement. So again, if you are not seeing a increase in
No, the neural drive and the androgen receptors are there because you need to carry your body through a famine. You understand me? Through a famine.
performance, you're probably not growing, or you're growing too slow to see the performance, and that will happen on a lot of exercises as you get more advanced, right? That is why we look for a general upward trend.
Again, you should do every kind of sport and every kind of lifting so you could get an adaptation, and that will make you good and better and physically stronger than anybody out there. So I recommend you do every kind of arm wrestling movement that these arm wrestlers do for their arms to be good at arm wrestling. Do every kind of adaptation process in running, whether it's downhill, whatever it is you're doing, box jumping, whatever, jumping down. I'm talking about every kind of adaptation: rock climbing, swimming, running, lifting, powerlifting, Olympic lifting. If you get good at doing all these exercises, these movements and these lifts and these movements, then you'll get an adaptation and a repair and a remodeling, and that will make you bigger and stronger than anybody in that effing gym. Get it, bro? Yeah, man. And it'll make you into a beast. You'll be better at them at all these sports. You'll be better than them at all these sports. I guarantee it. Especially the younger you are, the more adaptations you could eke out, the better you become. I'm talking about even gymnastics. If you haven't done gymnastics, do it. It'll make you stronger, bigger, and stronger doing that too as well. So more adaptations, the bigger, stronger you get physically, the better you become. You become better than anybody out there.
All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.
No, it has been uninformative because you don't know what you're talking about. If it was informative, you would have informed us in the proper way what these things are, the mechanisms behind them, but you didn't. And I had to do it for you and for the people that are out there, which is incredible. I'll see you in the next one, friends. Tell me what you think about that. Like, subscribe, support the channel, helps with the algorithm, but I know people will not like or subscribe because they don't like to hear the truth, man. They don't want to be a winner. They want to be losers. Okay, be a loser. I don't know. I can't help you, man. See you later, man. It's unfortunate.